In this episode, we leave Germany and step into a louder, brighter chapter of car history. The Testarossa is more than a fast red wedge with side strakes. It is a rolling sculpture, a symbol of 80s excess, and one of the last great analog 12-cylinder grand touring exotics that you can still drive and maintain today. To understand the Testarossa, we need to look at where Ferrari was in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Ferrari's flat 12 Berlinetta Boxer had the performance, but it had challenges with cabin heat, luggage space, and emissions, especially in North America. At the same time, regulations were tightening, and customers wanted both comfort and speed. Ferrari needed a new flagship that could satisfy wealthy clients in Monaco, Miami, and Tokyo, without losing the sense of theater. The answer debuted in 1984, the Ferrari Testarossa. The name Testarossa means red head in Italian, a reference to the red-painted cylinder heads on earlier racing engines. Styled by Pininfarina, the new car took the wedge theme of the era and turned it into something wide, low, and unmistakably dramatic. From the front, it is sharp and simple, with pop-up headlights and a clean nose. From the side, everything changes. What most people remember are the side strakes, sometimes nicknamed cheese graters. These long horizontal fins run across deep side intakes that feed radiators mounted in the rear quarter panels rather than in the front. This solved some of the heat issues of earlier mid-engine cars and gave the Testarossa its instantly recognizable profile. The rear track is very wide, the rear haunches are almost architectural, and the car looks like it was designed to fill a cinema screen rather than a narrow country lane. Underneath the dramatic body sits a 4.9-liter flat 12 engine mounted longitudinally. It is sometimes called a flat 12, but mechanically it is closer to a 180-degree V12, with separate cylinder heads on each bank. In European trim, the Testarossa made around 380 horsepower, with slightly less in some early US versions. Numbers aside, what matters is the character. The engine revs cleanly, builds power smoothly, and produces a high metallic wail at the top of the rev range that is unlike any V8 or inline-six. The drivetrain is classic analog exotic car. Power goes through a 5-speed manual gearbox with a gated metal shift pattern. The driver moves a polished metal lever through exposed slots, each gear change accompanied by a satisfying click. There are no paddles, no automatic mode, and no electronic stability systems. Steering is heavy at parking speeds but becomes talkative on the move. On a fast road, the Testarossa feels wide and substantial, but also surprisingly stable for a mid-engine car of its era. Inside the cabin, the Testarossa mixes luxury with focused purpose. You sit low, facing a simple cluster of round gauges and a wide dashboard. The center console carries rows of small switches and the famous open metal gate for the gear lever. Leather covers almost every surface, often in tan or cream that contrasts with the red exterior most people imagine. Refinement is better than earlier Ferraris, but you still hear the mechanical noises and feel the vibration that remind you this is a big 12-cylinder engine just behind your shoulders. Over its life, the Testarossa family evolved. Early cars are sometimes called monospecchio and monodato, referring to the single high-mounted mirror and single center lock wheel nut. Later, Ferrari refined the concept into the 512 TR and the even more modern F512 M, with more power, revised styling details, and suspension improvements. All share the same basic layout and feel, but the original Testarossa remains the most iconic shape, forever tied to the 1980s. That 80s image is impossible to separate from the car. The Testarossa appeared in television shows like Miami Vice, in music videos, magazine covers, posters on bedroom walls, and countless video games. The white Testarossa cruising through neon-lit streets became a visual shorthand for success, risk, and sometimes excess. Where the Porsche 911 quietly rewarded careful drivers, the Testarossa shouted that you had arrived and wanted everyone on the boulevard to know it. For a long time, this strong image actually hurt values. In the 1990s and 2000s, many buyers saw the Testarossa as dated, too wide, and too obviously tied to a specific decade. Prices fell, and some cars were neglected. In the last decade, that perception has changed. Enthusiasts and collectors have rediscovered the appeal of analog exotics, and 80s culture has become retro and desirable again. As a result, the Testarossa has climbed from depreciated used exotic to modern collectible. Today, values vary widely depending on mileage, condition, and history. Driver-quality cars with higher mileage and average paint may sit in the lower part of the market, while low-mileage, well-documented examples, especially in classic red over tan, can command much higher prices. Later 512 TR and F512 M models sit above the original Testarossa in many markets. But the pure original design still has its own strong following. If you are thinking about buying a Testarossa, there are several important points to consider. First is maintenance. The Flat 12 requires regular major services that often involve removing the engine from the car to change timing belts and address oil leaks or cooling issues. These services are expensive and time-consuming, so service records from a knowledgeable specialist are extremely valuable. Skipping maintenance to save money usually costs much more later. Cooling is another key area. Because the radiators sit in the sides, long coolant runs and multiple fans must work correctly. A neglected cooling system can lead to overheating, which is dangerous for an aluminum 12-cylinder engine. Electrical systems, including the fuse box and charging system, also deserve careful inspection, as age and heat can cause problems in cars that are now several decades old. You should also look closely at the body and interior. Many Testarossas have led glamorous but not always careful lives. Check for evidence of accident repairs, poor repainting, or fiberglass damage around the side intake areas. Inside, leather shrinkage on the dashboard, cracked trim, and non-original modifications can all affect both value and the feeling of authenticity. None of these issues are impossible to fix, but they add cost on top of an already complex car. For the right owner, however, the Testarossa offers something that few modern cars can match. It is wide, theatrical, and unapologetically dramatic. It demands attention, but it also rewards patience and care with a driving experience that feels special at almost any speed. You do not need to be at the limit to enjoy a Testarossa. Simply starting the engine, moving the metal shifter through the gate, and hearing the Flat 12 echo off tunnel walls can be an event. In the story of classic cars, the Ferrari Testarossa is not about subtlety. It is about design that could only have come from Italy, sound that could only have come from a 12-cylinder engine, and drama that could only have come from the 1980s. For collectors and enthusiasts who want an analog exotic that still turns every head on the street, the Testarossa remains one of the most unforgettable choices.